Growing up the way that I did around so much poverty, I actually had a poverty mindset.
Yes.
In a sense where I worked so hard to become rich, but the motivation was I didn't want to live in poverty. I didn't want to be poor anymore. I didn't want to suffer anymore.
Right.
And I push and drive and go get it. Stop at nothing. Pull out all the stops. Just go after it and get it and get it and get it. And I did that, and I was very, very successful.
I'm Art Blanchford, and this is Life in Transition, a podcast about making the most of the changes we're given. As a married father of 3 teenagers, a longtime global business executive and adventurer, I've been through hundreds of transitions in my life. Many have been difficult, but all have led to a depth and richness I could never have imagined. You'll get to hear all about them on this podcast so that together we can create more love and joy in our lives, no matter what transitions we are going through. Thank you, Marvin, for joining us today. I'm very honored and excited to have Marvin Peake with us today on Life in Transition. Marvin Peake is a number one best-selling author, international speaker, transformational strategist, and serial entrepreneur. He's officially recognized as an ambassador of peace with the Universal Peace Federation. And after serving in the U.S. military and 6 years in the FBI, which is new apparently in this book that this is coming out, Marvin built several multi-million-dollar contracting firms, created nationwide community development and economic programs, and expanded his philanthropic work throughout the U.S. and across the globe. Marvin studied with some of the world's most prominent public figures in modern history, including Tony Robbins, which is really exciting, with whom he traveled with the world, speaking to audiences in the tens of thousands. He honed his organizational and leadership skills as a youth leader and logistics strategist for the Million Man March, one of the most highly attended events in the history. Having unlocked and simplified breakthrough principles behind the laws of attraction, Marvin now shares his inspiring story of poverty to prosperity and offers winning solutions to the masses in the areas of personal development, business, community, and societal transformation. His lifelong passion is uniting humanity. Lord knows we need a lot of that right now, ending world poverty, and helping others to master the science of success. And I love the last line, and the art of life fulfillment. So Marvin, really happy to have you here. Congratulations on this best-selling book that you have now, #1 bestseller. And really glad to have you here today to talk about some of your biggest transitions that you've had and how they can benefit the audience of this podcast.
Thank you so much, Art, for having me. It's an honor to be here with you, brother.
Thank you very much. And when we had talked a little bit coming into this podcast, when we talked before we were on air here, that you talk about, the author and the title of this book, Coming Out of the Tunnel, as really that's one of the biggest transitions you've made, but there's so many inside that. And I was really struck by your story and maybe we can start here if it's okay with you. I was really struck about how you've gone from, being homeless as a youth. I mean, really, being on the streets to creating this magical life, and not just a wealthy and successful life, but really focused on service and benefiting others as well. Maybe you could take us through a little bit of that story and what you think the key transition points were for you there.
Yeah, absolutely. No one chooses to be homeless or live in poverty. That was just a part of my life's curriculum. As a child, you don't have the understanding of why your parents aren't equipped to take care of you, why family members are stepping up to take you in, give you a home, place to live, nurture you. But I looked around at my friends and other family members, children my age and a little bit older, younger, and they had families. What made me so different? And it was a horrid experience, day to day, out in the street, dealing with all sorts of elements. But as I had gotten older, learning, growing, that which can be construed as a wounding turned out to be a preparing for me.
Mm-hmm.
It prepared me to go out in life now, as I do, to create, to build, to network. I loved sports when I was coming up. So I watched people like Michael Jordan. And I know we have this debate that's going on, which I think is the most ridiculous debate ever. LeBron James and Michael Jordan. And I looked at Michael Jordan, how he played. I looked at athletes similar to that, where there was this refuse to lose attitude.
Right.
I'll do whatever it takes to gain victory, no matter what is in front of me, no matter what the opportunity is.
When did that first crystallize for you? Because obviously, I mean, growing up on the streets, there's a lot of people that don't end up where you are. So something must have shifted. And we all know that there's, the first creation is not the physical one, right?
Yeah.
It's the mental one, right? So what shifted in you? And do you remember the specific time where you realized that you were going to do whatever it took to win, where you realized that you could transmute this experience, as you said, into a preparation instead of a reason for not being successful in life?
Absolutely. Well, when you realize that people weren't going to step up and help you, they weren't going to support you. I remember being taken from my uncle's house to my grandfather's senior citizens facility. And they didn't have children there. You can't stay here. So I walked the street all night. And I went to see a relative, a cousin. And she said, well, what I can do is call the police. And she called the police. The police came and picked me up and took me to the station. And I remember one of the officers crying. And they were discussing whether or not I could go home with one of them.
Wow.
Phone and calling.
And how old were you right then, Marvin? How old were you then?
I was probably about 9, 10, maybe.
Wow.
10.
Wow.
And so it was the middle of the night, no social services around. And so they wound up taking me to a boys' shelter for troubled youth. And
so you're in there with 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds.
Yeah. So, I'd walk in and as soon as I walk in, a little kid popped me in the face with a hot rag. And it was on, just fighting like crazy. So the next day, the courts got involved. They'd taken me to court, and I saw my family members. And they were in the hallway of the courthouse arguing on who wasn't going to take me home.
Oh, man.
So, it was that point there that I realized that no one was going to rescue me. No one was going to save me. And that I didn't have the words for it at the time, but that's where self-sufficiency grew in me. Independence grew in me.
Right.
I carry that with me today where, I don't look for other people to handle things for me. I do everything that I possibly can. That doesn't mean that I don't reach out and network and work with others.
Of
but
course.
I don't put my total dependence on someone to handle things that needs to be handled. And I don't blame people.
Right.
So when there's some kind of disappointment, if there's dissatisfaction, something doesn't go the way that I want it to go, I don't waste a lot of time blaming folks and using them as a reason for my failure.
Right.
I take total responsibility for that because the power ultimately resides with me.
Right.
And so I know that when we point the finger and we blame because we disagree or we disapprove of something in someone, we have this unconscious addiction to anger, to victimhood, to
definitely.
abuse.
Yep.
See, I learned as a child to eliminate all excuses because excuses and blaming and victimhood wasn't going to get me off the street. It wasn't going to get me in.
Right.
It wasn't going to
But
get
that's a
me
great
through.
thing to learn. You know how many adults that I know that haven't learned that yet?
Oh,
so to be able to
absolutely.
learn
That's
that at 9 or 10 years old, that you can either choose to blame, you can have reasons why you don't get somewhere, or you can have results if you quit blaming and say, what can I do?
Absolutely.
What actions can I take?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's really, I said this morning on a TV program, you know, it's a cyclical generational trauma that we carry. And
Yes,
at some point, someone has to break it.
that's
And
right.
and because I was put in my life's curriculum to go through that, I believe that I'm the one to break it. So
Right,
you know, I don't tolerate excuses. I don't tolerate blaming.
right.
I really don't. You
And
know,
it's not even about right or wrong. It's not even about who's at fault. It's just about it doesn't help you move forward,
it
right?
doesn't help you move forward. We live in a society now where people celebrate quitting. They celebrate. They'll find some excuse, something that's happening, to blame. Well, you know, folks suffer from anxiety. They have mental challenges. I recognize those kinds of things, but I also understood as a child that I am not my mind.
Right,
Matter of fact, I am not even this body.
right.
The essence of me comes from source
That's
of
right,
all things in creation, right? And this body and this mind does not necessarily define my potential,
right,
what I'm able to accomplish and what I'm able to do.
right.
So, you know, in a way, it was tough, but in a great way, though, Art, it gave me an advantage over most people that I know.
Yeah, to learn that at such a young age. Can I
Yeah.
can I dig into something you said a few times when we've been talking here? You've talked about that wasn't in my life's curriculum. Can
Yes.
you expand on that just for a minute? Like, what are you talking about when you say my life's curriculum? Because it's something I haven't heard before, and I've read and talked to a lot of people. So I'm curious what you're meaning there.
You know, I believe that we all come here with a cosmic calling. I
Yes,
believe that we all have an assignment.
yes, I do too.
Now, you know, there's a possibility that we may have even been co-writers and co-creators of this
Yes,
curriculum.
yep,
And whether we believe that there are past lives or not, you know, that's up for the individual to decide. You know, I do believe that the things that we go through, that it is there for us to evolve ourselves, our souls, and our different personalities.
right, right. So
And
that's the
so
life's curriculum, or the things in front of us for us to learn from
learn
the
from, to
school of
grow
life,
from, to build, to strengthen,
right?
and to get to a point where we become a standard of this thing that we call life. And that's why I tell folks, hey, I get this question all the time: are you a coach? Can you coach me? And I don't necessarily like that term, because the original meaning of coach is to carry, to support. Now, I can support and carry you, but I cannot tell you what you should and should not do, because your life's curriculum may be different from mine. And
Right,
what worked for me may not necessarily work for you.
right.
So, me telling you what you should and should not do would be an infringement upon you, because you and I are just learning our curriculum
That's right. That's
ourselves.
right. But and I think you can be a great coach by helping somebody to find what it is that is their curriculum, not telling them what they should do, but helping them to find it and help and kicking them along the way on their path.
You know, here's a presentation. It's right here for. It's like a buffet. There are a lot of things there. Find out what works for you. What
Yeah.
has worked in the past? What is your desire? What do you envision for yourself?
Right.
Now, I tell you my story, and you may be able to grab something from there and say, "Hey, I can use this to better myself. I can take those techniques, like in my book." So you know, I put a key at the end of each chapter so that the reader can come not necessarily totally out of my story, but so that they can see themselves. When you're dealing with anxiety, when you need better coherence, when you need to understand self-determination, when you want to know what true integrity is, unconditional love. And then I ended with something that's called divine essence, because I learned something from studying my mother and studying my past relationships with women, who they really are and who we really are, and what our assignment is, our duty, our responsibility to the mother of all creation, the womb of all creation, the earth itself, the universe itself.
Right.
We have an obligation, a responsibility to uphold, to protect, to provide, and even to the point where we hold this thing so sacred that we don't allow anything, including especially ourselves, to interfere with it in a way that it will cause a problem for the future of our existence.
Right.
And that is what we've been doing. And I make a point in my book to make sure that the reader understands that for every man on the planet, but also for women to get an awakening about who you are. So you don't have to come up out of your nature to try to fit it into a toxic masculine society just so you can get along. When you own who you are, the essence of who you are, everything bows down to you.
Preach on. No, I mean, I love that. I mean, and I think it's our biggest joy and challenge and job is to find who we are and to evolve into that. Like you were just saying, my path may not be your path, but it's our duty, it's our obligation and our joy to find what is our path, and then to have the courage to step up to it, to quit making reasons, quit making excuses, and then to, you know, as Joseph Campbell says, say a hearty yes to your adventure, whatever your adventure is, right?
Absolutely. You know, and it really starts with self-acceptance, understanding who you are. So I've said this a few times in my book signing events and some interviews. I was working with a group from United Nations affiliate, Pathways to Peace, and something really struck a chord in understanding that we are the universe's microcosmic co-creators of its evolutionary intent, purpose, and passion. Yes. When we understand what the work of the universe is, and that we are its microcosmic co-creators of its intent, of its impulse, yes, of its purpose, then you understand that you are here to create. You can start creating with yourself, but it has to be done by first giving up the blame, the excuse, the victimhood, right? And then holding people into some kind of disappointment bag when they don't do what you want them to do. You see, that's another unconscious way that we hope that we blame people and make them responsible for our own shortcomings. Yeah. See, I don't ever want to be that insecure and reinforce that kind of insecurity in myself. But I do know that,
or in others, because you're doing that, you're reinforcing in others too.
To you. Absolutely. When you stop giving people what they think they want from you, a lot of times you see a change. They don't look at you the same, and then they'll forget all the stuff you've done for them in the past. You know, you can be like all world everything to them as long as you're doing what they want you to do.
From a codependent perspective,
you no longer do that. That's when you can determine who that person is to you.
What I was saying though is I've found recently, like, not just being codependent on others for as you were saying, that not having them depend on me to be a certain way, not having to depend on them to be a certain way for me to be okay, but even be able to use your words, know who I am enough to be strong enough in who I am that I can, in a kind way, I'll say, call them on their shit as well. Yeah. Right. Yeah. In a kind way, nothing derogatory, nothing putting them down. I don't need them to respond to me for me to be okay in a certain way. But I can also say, hey, I really think at this situation, this is what we need to do. And, you know, maybe go take a few breaths and then come back to it. Right.
Absolutely.
And that's relatively new for me to be able to be in that place of not myself being at the effect of, but being able to support others in a healthy way without any fear of retribution from their side too, or any superiority or anything else for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I talk about in the book, I have a key that's called sacred solitude. You know, sometimes you just have to go it alone and not be afraid to be alone.
Yes.
It said that you become the people that you're around. So my circle is very small. And if I let you into my intimate circle, then, you know, that's saying something. But when that happens, you know, I'm not afraid to stand alone. Yeah. Right. You know, and it's okay. I love partnership. I love people. As tough as humans can be, I love people. My mission is for people. But I don't mind standing alone. I've been alone all my life.
Well, you see? And I think there's things you cannot learn except in solitude. There are things about yourself. There's things that I could have never seen without the discomfort and the quiet and the strain of being completely by myself for days.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. And with no distractions, and just to be able to be there with myself, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you really get to learn who you are.
Yes.
How you work. What you get a chance if you're smart enough to police your thoughts, right? Knowing what's coming in and out of you. I learned that our thoughts is the language of our consciousness.
Yes.
And our emotions is the language of our bodies. So, I got a chance to really study what's going on in my subconscious, beneath the under my consciousness. What's going on with my body? How am I constantly communicating with the universe? How am I constantly communicating with this beautiful electromagnetic field that we have? What am I constantly ordering out here? Why do these things happen? Why do they continuously happen? Why do sometimes I find myself what they call stuck? How do I get out of this rut? See, sometimes you got to step away and step aside from everything and everyone so that you can examine self.
Absolutely.
And start to make the shift in self, and then make incremental progress towards the life that you desire to have.
And when you've done that, when you've taken that step back, Marvin, and you've had this solitude time and you've observed your thoughts, you've seen what the thoughts are coming up, what comes up for you? What came up for you? What did you take out of that new ahas or things that you've applied to try to get the life? And I say get the life. That's not even the right words. Like, to evolve, to be able to contribute in the way that you want to contribute and show up in life.
Yeah. So, growing up the way that I did, around so much poverty, I actually had a poverty mindset.
Yes.
In a sense where I worked so hard to become rich, but the motivation was I didn't want to live in poverty. I didn't want to be poor anymore. I didn't want to suffer anymore.
Right.
And I push and drive and drive and drive and go get it. Stop at nothing. Pull out all the stops. Just go after it and get it and get it and get it. And I did that, and I was very, very successful. But Art, that is not sustainable.
Right. Absolutely.
It is not sustainable.
Absolutely. I know it firsthand.
Yeah. So I found myself in what I described in my book as the tunnel, where that pushing and driving and everything I had done before to get myself off the street, to get myself to a certain level of abundance, a flow of prosperity, and it's not working anymore. So it was at that time that there had to be some kind of shift in my consciousness, and looking at nature and realizing that nothing in nature except for the human being, and you too, Marvin, that struggles and push and drives so hard to fulfill its needs and desires. See, I had to learn how to be. I had to learn how to look at the things that were around me and align with those things and visualize the things that I desire, and then match it vibrationally. When I look at a tree, and I look at a tree so full in the seasons that changes, and it bears fruit, and it gives us, so it clears the air to help with the oxygen that we breathe that sustains our existence. I look at how, the wood that we use to build homes and everything else, and I'm looking at it standing strong and tall and just being a part of it. I look at the birds that are flying. I look at the insects that are going about its business, and nothing looked like it was struggling. Right. So Marvin, why the heck are you struggling? What is your nature? If you truly understand that you are a co-creator of the universe's intent, purpose, impulses, then why don't you create from inside energetically rather than externally, rather than from matter, rather than circumstances? Because that's going to cause you to depend on other people and what their prescribed life's curriculum is in order for you to succeed.
Right.
And it wasn't that way for me. When I understood that I bear the responsibility of creating from within by first shifting my consciousness, visualizing what it is that I want, and becoming a vibrational and emotional match to it. Because it's not necessarily the house, the car, the relationship, the money. See, we're vibrational people. Beneath your beautiful physical exterior, brother, you are light and vibration.
Yep.
Yeah, the universe doesn't speak English or Spanish or Russian or French. It speaks vibration.
Right. And light. Yeah. Light and
It
vibration of light. Yep.
Right. So the more light and vibration you become of the physical thing that you desire, the more easy it is for you to draw it to you. Because we live on this big old earth. This big earth is a big old magnet between two poles where there's nothing but electricity and energy. So if I stand at the center of this and I can hold in alignment of the things that I envision and feel these things, then I draw these things constantly to me, but it's not the material thing that I'm chasing and I'm going after.
Right.
I'm embodying what that's going to make me feel like if I already had it. Yeah,
So
I'm sorry.
I want to come back in a second because I think everybody understands very well this drive. Not everybody, I'm saying, lives that way, but in America, we celebrate that. We, self-made, drive hard, workaholic, go,
Yeah.
go. Right. So I think
Yeah.
people understand that. And you had that, when you're in the tunnel, you had
Yeah.
that and you were driving that way. And I think everybody can relate to that. I know I can, and many people in this country, you want to be successful, you work hard, you force it, you make it happen.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about this experience in nature when you realize that nature's not struggling like this. It's lining up with what is. And there's something in there about, like, the word that comes to me is like becoming, like, myself, yourself, Marvin, becoming like a different sort of human being, like your energetic field being different.
Yeah.
And that allows different things to happen. How did that process take shape? How did it, I mean, I've got the part of, I got the inspiration from nature, but what did you do in yourself to become that guy that can have even a better life in forms of being at peace, being in relationship with others, in abundance, all of these things, without the drive, without the control, without the...
Yeah. There are two things that I discovered. I discovered the difference between resilience and resistance. See, the drive causes us to be resilient. I always had to be resilient. Resilient, keep going, no matter what. But when you're pushing and you're being so-called resilient and there's no movement, there's no progress, that's not resilience. That's resistance. Because obviously, whatever it is that you're going after, either the contract is over for that thing or it's not for you. It wasn't for you to begin with. And you keep pushing and pushing and drive. Sometimes we're in relationships that way.
Yeah,
I'm just going to hang in here and I'm
persist,
smashed and we're not moving, right? So, progress equals happiness. When you see that there's progress, no matter how much difficulty you're faced with, no matter how much challenge is there, you still have that extra drive because you can see it's going somewhere. If we go to the gym and we work out and we're working out, we know, we can see that the muscles are building. I feel good. You know that there's progress. Right. So
you up the weight, when you can curl more, then you're making progress.
Yeah. So when you're pushing and there's no movement, that's not being resilient. That's resistance. And when you resist against the universe, against anything, you're resisting against the universe altogether, and you can't win that.
So that when you get stuck, then that's resistance. Like, that's pressing against something that's not made for you, that's not in the flow. Exactly.
Okay. So all the things I did before, I had all of this before I went into the tunnel, losing it all, and I'm going back to what I had done before, and it's not working. And I became exhausted and tired and ready to give up. Ready to quit. Me, of all people, talking about quitting, right?
Marvin, may I ask again, how old were you at this time?
Oh, I didn't go into the tunnel until, really I just got out of the tunnel, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, good time to be writing this book then.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about the tunnel. I just realized that, I'm working so hard. I had all of this stuff and it's like going away so quickly and I don't know how to stop the bleeding. And everything I had done before is not working. So something had to change. So what I did was I said, well, what is it that you can control? What is it? What can you do to celebrate yourself every time you have some kind of accomplishment?
Mm.
When you look at the universe, what is the first law? The first law is not attraction. The first law is motion, right? It's motion, it's movement, it's energy. The second law is order and attraction. So I wanted to make sure that this movement, this energy that I was putting out, that there would be order to it. So how do I get order? Make your freaking bed every day, right? Go into some deliberate meditation. Find something every day to be grateful for and to smile at. And then I began to transmute every little win, no matter how small it was. If someone I'm driving, and you know how it is, sometimes people don't want to let you over. When someone would let me over, I transmuted that in my mind as a victory, as currency, as abundance, as prosperity, as a win, as success. If someone smiled or gave me a compliment, I transmuted everything into some kind of success that I could celebrate. I made sure that if there was a light bulb out, change the light bulb.
It's a win.
Make sure everything is working around you.
Right.
I also began to see everything as an income, not necessarily money,
right?
But something coming in.
Learning, energy, love, whatever it is, relationship.
And this became income. And then I began to tell myself that I have a flow and abundance of income. Income just coming. And I started looking for evidence of income. And it kept coming and kept coming. Now my higher soul, universe, God, source, knew exactly what I needed. But the universe does not give you necessarily what you want and what you need. We get who we are.
See, this is the key to me. And this is what I want to hear more about. Like this. So how do you then change who you are so that you can line up the getting with who, or how can you become the person you want to be who you are in a way that will attract the kind of life that you want to have then?
Well, I had to become income. I had to become prosperity. I had to become wealth and abundance. I had to become love and unconditional love. So those weren't just words, but they were assignments.
And how did you take the steps to do that? So those are a lot of big things, right? To become unconditional love, to become abundance, to become in who you are so that you're living that, you're radiating that. But how did you do that? What were the steps that you took to do that?
Everything, every activity, from just merely breathing or checking on my beating heart, I transmuted that in my mind as income, as prosperity, as wealth. From paying attention to breaths. I mean, what do we take? More than 40,000 breaths a day or something like that? Do we even pay attention to one? But if you don't breathe, nothing else would matter anyway.
Right. So something to be grateful for right there.
Be grateful for. So
Very
as I'm
grateful
breathing in, I'm like, boy, that's income. And as I'm exhaling, I'm able to share that and give that. See, because every time I am inhaling, oxygenating my cells, whatever I'm thinking and feeling, whatever vibrational state I'm in, and I exhale it, I'm doing one of two things. I'm either adding value and life to you, or I'm taking it away. So I'm responsible for what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, the state that I'm in. I had to embody in every cell of my being until my nervous system, my bloodstream, everything. And I began to program my subconscious so that my brain, when it received those thoughts that produce chemicals, those chemicals would go down into my cells as income, as prosperity, as wealth, as abundance, as love.
Right.
So everything that I did, from the food that I was eating, whatever I'm drinking, going for a walk, the sunrise, a sunset, a beautiful flower, a smile, some kind of courtesy that was coming to me, I just took everything and made it income.
Made it incoming. All good things incoming, whether it's financial or not, all good things incoming.
Exactly. And I would not stay stuck into things that was the antithesis of income. So if something was against prosperity or it wasn't making me feel the way that I
wasn't against love,
I removed myself from that.
Right.
And if that required me to go into sacred silence and not talk to you, I'm sorry, I won't talk to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a responsibility, and I have to get to a certain standard of income, of wealth, of prosperity, of unconditional love. And if I gotta do it by myself, I'll do it until the right people comes along.
Right. So let me ask you, you said a minute ago, Marvin, you said, if I'm either, with my breath and with my energy, I'm either adding value to you or I'm taking value to you.
Absolutely.
In the same sense, like, so if you're adding value to me, what are you also doing to yourself? If you're taking value from me, what are you also doing to yourself?
See, we are here with a system, a law of reciprocity. Everything is in a dynamic of exchange. And I believe that we all have a karmic bank. There are those who have a surplus and there are those who have a deficit. So every time I'm doing something out of generosity, whether it's a good thought about you, a kind word, helping, supporting you in some way, some advice, some information, or just an ear, I'm realizing that making myself available to you in that way, I'm helping to balance my karmic budget.
Right.
And I'm putting a surplus there.
Right.
So
it's benefiting me, and it's also benefiting you at the same time.
It's benefiting me. Every time I give you, I'm benefiting myself.
And and on the converse, if you have the negative thoughts, if you're taking value, then you're also taking it from yourself at the same time.
Absolutely. That's exactly how that works, man. That's exactly how that works. So a lot of times people think that because I'm so generous, that I'm so giving, that I have some kind of angle.
Right.
No, listen, I don't want anything. I take care of me. I've been taking care of me all my life. If I give you, it's because I want to give to you.
Right.
And I'm benefiting from giving you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, that's I wanted to hear your opinion on that, or your thoughts on that. I appreciate that's great. I have a question. How did this big transition for you coming out of the tunnel? Because I really think that's one I really resonate with, is this going from, I call it strive drive, where you're just making everything happen and it's crazy, to being in the flow. How did that also affect the relationships around you, Marvin?
Well, you lose a lot of people along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is not cut out for the journey that you're on.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is not a part of your destiny.
Right.
And then there are those that you align with so well. There are those who are there to not just understand you, but to also support you in some way. Now, it's not many. It's not many people who do that. We're blessed.
Yes.
We're blessed. But you lose a lot of people along the way. I said earlier today, you don't know who a person is to you until you are no longer giving them what they want from you. The moment you stop being who they want you to be, folks will leave you. They will walk away from you. They will quit on you. And I grew up around a bunch of quitters. I became an adult, and you build these bonds with these people. And the moment you don't show up the way that they demand you to show up, they walk away and they quit and they run and they go look for something else to replace you. I'm sorry, folks, whoever will look at this, you can't replace me. There's only one of me.
Yeah, no, I love that. Arthur Brooks talks about that with true friends. He said, there's two kinds of friends. There's deal friends and there's real friends.
I love that.
And the difference is that deal friends, you want something from them, and your friendship is conditional upon the deal, and vice versa. And this is the interesting thing. Real friends are useless. He said real friends are just people that have got your back so much as who you are, that you've earned the right, and they've earned the right to be there for you for no value besides the true friendship. Right. Yeah. There's nothing that they want from you. You don't have to be a certain way. You don't have to give them a certain thing. You don't have to help them make certain money, whatever. It's just useless, except it's the most important thing we have, which is these types of deep relationships where we're not transactional.
Yeah, no, it's really something, because most relationships are transactional.
Yes.
When do you have someone that's just showing up for you? The great Bishop T.D. Jakes, he broke down the three levels of so-called friendship. And he talks about, those that are a comrade, and then there's a constituent, and then there's a confidant. So you have people that you call your friend, and the reason that you're friends is because you agree on something.
You share a mission or something.
You share a mission together. Yep. We're together, and then this is what we're friends. You know, but as soon as that mission is over, or as soon as you shift and change, then the friendship is over, right? And the constituents are usually people that you share this common disagreement with something. It could be
or values or
society, and we're against that, and we're buddies and we're pals because we don't like that team, right? Or we don't like that political party or that person,
right?
But a confident is there with you whether you're up or down, whether they agree with you or not.
This is the real friend.
People that you can call on at any time and they're going to show up for you. Yep. The kind of people that love you for you, not for what you do or what you can give them.
Right.
These are the kind of people that will tell you when you're in error and not be afraid to let you know.
That's right.
See,
because they don't need anything from you. They don't care if you get upset if you tell them.
They don't care. Yeah. Because they love you.
That's right. That's right. And they don't love what they can get from you. That's
exactly right. That's exactly right. Let me say this, brother. I had one person in my life like that, and that was my boxing coach. That's the only time I ever had that level of unconditional love. He was in that courtroom with my family when they were fighting over who weren't going to take me, and he wanted to fight the whole family.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, my mother, who just made her transition, my mother could not take care of me because of the alcoholism. She suffered with that.
She couldn't take care of herself even.
That's exactly right. But my mother, the only woman that ever gave me true unconditional love, even if we didn't talk for years at a time, my mother, if at any time that she could show up for me, she never failed to show up. She never failed to defend me when I needed to be defended. And that was her way of showing that even though I didn't take care of you growing up, I'm your mother, I love you dearly, and if this little bit that I can do in a time where I really needed someone, see, not financially, she didn't have the resources, anything like that, but I was going through a war, and my mother knew about the war, and she came to my aid. She stopped everything that she was doing, including she put the bottle down so she could be for her son.
Right.
See, that kind of unconditional love. Now, I've had relationships, intimate, romantic relationships, and they tell you that they love you and I'll never leave you. But again, the moment I'm not doing what you want me to do, poof, you're gone. Right. See, that's unconditional love. That's not growing together. See, I have to be a certain way. I have to conform to your idea of who I should be in order to maintain a relationship with you. Well, I don't want that because I don't put that on people. You come as you are. I love you as you are. We grow together as we are. We honor each other. I don't need to control and manipulate you to be a certain way to love you. See, we have a common goal together to grow and have a covenant about our relationship that is bigger than you and I, but is here to serve humanity, that's here to serve the world, that's here to do something great, to lift a greater standard for relationships, not because you don't like what I have said or something that I've done in my past or something that you want to know from me that I'm not ready to tell you.
Right. See? No, I think, and until you get to that place, Marvin, in a relationship, there's depth that you can get to only when you accept that as that is, that I'm in this.
Absolutely.
And I love you as you are for whatever the ups and downs are. You know, I've married almost 30 years now, and I can tell you what, thank you, brother. Thank you. It's better than I could have possibly imagined at this point. That. You know, it really is. It's not an easy journey, but nothing worthwhile in life is easy. Right. Anything that has value, you earn it. And that's like you said, making progress. That's how you feel good is you make progress. But there's levels of love that I've gotten to with my wife now almost 30 years. And I have 3 adult kids and loving them that I never like, it's grown me as a human being tremendously. Right. Being in a relationship.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that. See, you know, when we can look at our partner and honor them, have disagreements, but listening to their perspective and their point of view of where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
To help us to grow. See, Deepak Chopra says that every relationship is a mirror.
Absolutely.
So if you don't like what you see, don't break the mirror.
Yeah, I'm pointing at myself, right? Like I got to look at myself. And to get to a place where if you can love somebody enough and love yourself enough that you can be kindly supportive of them, even in their challenges, not like coddling them, but helping them to push through, because you don't
Absolutely.
need their thoughts of you in order to be okay yourself.
Absolutely.
Right. That's where I've gotten to now with my wife. And it's a beautiful, and same thing for her. She can also push me and I mean like, oh, damn, she's right. I don't want to hear it right now, but she's 100% right. Right. And without, because she's confident in who she is. Right. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I got two more questions for you. I know I'm trying to keep you on time here because you got a lot going on with the book tour, but two more questions. One, do you feel that transitions in life will ever end, or do they continue forever?
As long as we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
They call this Earth School. We're going to always have transitions. There's always going to be something. But that's why it's important to have a foundation, right?
Back on this, who we are, who we're becoming as our spiritual practices.
Absolutely. And be willing to make shifts along the way.
Absolutely.
When something's not working, shift it.
Yep.
Get as much as you possibly can out of every experience, especially in relationships. What did this person come to teach me? What did they come to teach me about myself? Because I promise you, it's not the other person.
Right. No, I love that. I know. I think it was Tony Robbins that I heard say this too, that he said, every story, every person that comes across your path is something to learn from. They're either an inspiration or a warning.
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh my God. Man, let me tell you something, man. In my book, I don't want to give it away, but Tony actually talked when he first said that, he said it in a relationships conference we had in Maui. And he said,
I was not there, but I got the DVDs of that, the CDs of that conference.
Well, this particular one will probably never, ever be made public.
Oh, okay.
I put bits and pieces of it in my book and I sent it to Tony, but I was the subject along with the person that was with me.
Okay.
And I think that's when he first said that this person can be a beautiful example, but instead they're a warning.
Yeah, they can be either one. It's
yeah, they're a warning, right? So yeah,
that's great. Yeah. I got one final question then for you, Marvin. If you could boil down, like especially on this transition, I mean, obviously you've had a lot of huge transitions, and we didn't have time to talk about all of them today. I hope I can have you back again in a year or two and discuss this again and see where you are, because there's so many other things I'd like to delve into. But if you look at this transition of you coming out of the tunnel, like feeling the pressure, feeling the drive, this go, and then shifting into a way of being that's in flow with life, that's accepting the present moment, being friends with the present moment. What is the one tool, if you could give one tool, one action that our listeners could take and say, I'm going to start to use this today, talking about what's inside of our control and what we can do? What's the one tool that you would give to our listeners to start with today that could help them to shift from this place of being so hardly driven, or what you called resistance, into a place of flow and accepting and still creating the prosperity and becoming in alignment with the type of life they want to have?
Absolutely. Well, understand that when we come to this place that we call Earth, this Earth School, and we have our life's curriculum, and from what we discussed earlier today, that we are co-creators of the evolution of the universe's evolutionary intent, purpose, and impulse.
I love the way you say that. I mean, I say let go and let God, but that's a wider spectrum and a little bit more detailed. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Therefore, and as you look at nature and nothing is struggling, the first thing I would ask the listeners to do is to give up struggle, because life was not meant to be a struggle. Challenge is inevitable.
Right.
That's how we grow and evolve. But struggle leads you to suffering, wanting something to be other than it is.
Okay. Here's the definition of the struggle or the suffering, wanting something to be different than it is right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Tony breaks down three elements of suffering. Is loss, thinking that you've lost something. Right? There's nothing lost. Everything is here. Thinking that you'll get less of something. And that is a limiting belief that if you don't have this, then you'll have less. Or if I don't take or steal or do something underhanded from my brother or sister, I'm going to have less. And then the third one is never. I will never find someone like this again. I'll never have an opportunity like this again. Those three elements that leads us into suffering and causes us to struggle. And it's all an illusion. When we give up, struggle, that takes us back to understanding that whatever you're doing and with whomever you're doing it with, if you feel resistance, release, surrender, be still.
So when you get to that point where you're pressing, I'm pressing my two hands together here. You guys aren't on video. When you're pressing, just let it go and let the stalemate break and see what happens.
Step back. Step back. We understand something in our day-to-day nature we should understand is that conflict, what we call conflict, is just a natural order of our existence. You can't turn on the light switch without conflict taking place. So there's a disruption, an interruption, a breakdown in everything. When you're walking, you're putting pressure on the earth, and the earth is putting pressure back up on you.
Right.
Yep. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yep.
We just happen to call it conflict. So we run from that, and we struggle with that. Rather than saying that when you were a baby, you fell, you got back up, because the earth is wobbling. The earth is spinning 1,037 1/3 miles per hour on its axis, and it's wobbling along the way. But because of the order of the earth, we don't fall off. When we put ourselves in order, even though things might be going fast for us, so much coming at us, and we get a little wobble, and we feel like we're not going to make it, you fall down, get up, and keep going. It is not conflict. It is nothing that you struggle against. You just take a step, even if it's incremental progress. You see the progress, you keep on moving. If you're not getting any movement whatsoever, be still.
Release and be still.
Release.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Release.
I love
and
that.
allow things to come to you. And I'm telling you, if we get people to just do that, I think we'll get to the point where we're not in these battles every day with folks.
Right.
Where we're not forcing people to be something that they're not.
Right.
We're not creating these illusions about how things should be, rather than accepting them as they are.
Right.
It is what it is. That's true.
Yeah.
I accept it as it
is.
It
is what it is.
If I have the power to make a shift and move things the way that I want them to move, then fine. But if not, be still.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. That makes a lot of sense. If you're beating your head against the wall for a long time, take a step back, take some breaths, meditate, go into solitude.
Absolutely.
Get some perspective.
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely. And you know, man, I tell you, we were talking about Michael Jordan. I would watch him and I would study him. And I would just play his stuff over and over again. And I would watch his eyes and his movement and the way that he was chewing gum and the way that he would go after everything. And I was just so inspired by this man playing a game. But to me, that was my game of life. And you know, when this talk again about LeBron James, and I know I shouldn't get so upset, but it really pisses me off. You know, because LeBron James is a really good ball player. He's a great ball player. He's outstanding. But it's a dumb argument, because if I had grown up watching him, there's no way I would be on this podcast talking to you now.
Interesting.
Because I don't like following people who whine and cry and make excuses, right? Who blame other people, you know, who has to promote themselves. I never promote me. When someone talks about me, they just say, this is what Marvin. These stories I never even wanted to tell. I never even wanted to tell the people the kind of things that I had amassed in my life. Never wanted to tell that stuff, but it's out there now. These people didn't know who I used to work for. You know, I didn't go around telling everybody. I don't tell people things now. So,
well, I'm glad you did, because I think your story can be really useful. So I really appreciate it, sharing it with me. And since you don't like to promote yourself, then I'm going to promote you a little bit here at the end. But if you want to find out more about this fascinating man and what he's done, go to marvinpeak.com, check out his book, Out of the Tunnel, #1 best-selling new book. where else can they find out more about you if they want to, Marvin?
Yeah, Amazon, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever books are sold.
And
I have
do you do a social presence as well, or just on your website?
different book signings. I get invited all the time around the country in different parts of the world to come and speak and do book signings, and we'll post all of that stuff. Some of the stuff will be on social media. They can come out and talk to me, and I love meeting people. I love talking with people. I love hearing their stories, and I love if they will allow me add something to it if I can.
Awesome.
But I also have a course, the Ultimate Empowerment Program, and it is a 7-day program, step by step, of what I did to come out of the tunnel.
Oh, awesome!
Step by step,
and
visualizing, emotionalizing, vocalizing, magnetism, the whole gamut. Everything. And I break this thing all the way down so that if you're stuck, if you're challenged with something, if there's difficulty that you just don't have the answers for and can't get through, I am telling you, I love writing the book, but boy, I really love this course.
Awesome. Is that available? People can find out more about that on your website?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
That's great. That sounds very powerful. I really appreciate it. Well, Marvin, I'm super grateful for you making the time to be with me today. I'm inspired by your overarching story, but really specifically about being able to articulate this change from being driven to being in the flow, to letting go, to stepping back and quit being in resistance. That one really resonates with me, and I think there's a lot of people out there that will really resonate with. So thank you so much. I mean, I really, really appreciate it, brother. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This was really great. Thank you so much, brother.
I can't wait to hear what action you are taking. Connect with me on LinkedIn or our website, lifeintransition.online, and let me know. Let a friend know too. It could be a huge encouragement to them and keep you on the track. Thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and it would mean a lot to me if you left a review and shared this episode with a friend. If you want to learn more about me and what I do when I'm not podcasting, please visit me at artblanchford.com. Thank you for listening. Together, let's make the most of life in transition.